everyone. My name is Mary Berger, and you are listening to Waking the Spirit. This show is for those of you out there just starting to explore spirituality. I hope you find this show to be one of the resources you turn to for information. With that said, thank you for listening in on this show. I am picturing you all in a comfortable position. So let's start out by taking a deep breath in and slowly let that breath out. Let's begin. So, as we start our show tonight, I want to go over a few logistics. I have a lot to say, but I would also love to chat with all of you and listen to your comments or answer your questions. I have two ways for you to communicate with me during the show. First, you can call into the show and go on the air live with me. The number to call is 713-955-0415. Once you call, you will be put in the call queue and you will be able to listen to the show on your phone. When you're ready to ask a question, just go ahead and press the 1 on your phone, and I will be notified that you have a question. I'll see a little dot next to your phone. I can then bring you into the show and chat. While you're in the queue waiting for me to bring you on the show, my wonderful producer, Kelly, may hop on the line to chat with you while you are waiting for me. She is very friendly and will put you at ease. If you are a little hesitant to go on the air with me, I've set up an email address where you can send me a message or a question, and I'll answer your question on the air. I will keep things anonymous if you want me to. So, now that we have that out of the way, I want to start this evening by talking for a moment about Wayne Dyer. Dr. Dyer passed away on August 30th of this year from a heart attack. If you are new to your spiritual journey and you have not explored the amazing teachings of Dr. Wayne Dyer, I urge you to do so. He was an amazing example of someone totally dedicated to his spiritual path and also dedicated to teaching others. I had the privilege and honor of attending one of his seminars this past spring in Portland, Oregon. Over the past year, I have been guided to watch his videos, read his books, and attend one of his seminars. I know it is all for a reason and will help me along my journey. If you don't know, his ebooks are all on sale for $1.99 through the end of September from Amazon, iTunes, and Barnes & Noble. I picked up a half a dozen that I have not read yet. I hope you all take advantage of this as well. It's a great opportunity. Also, there is a memorial service for Dr. Dyer tomorrow that will be live streamed from Florida. If you go to my website, which is www.wakingthespirit.net, I will have the link for you in today's show notes. It should be live now up there on my website. The live stream for the memorial service starts at 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. So check that out if you're interested. So on to another subject. For those of you in the greater Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington metro area, you know that we have a wide variety of metaphysical shops available to us. One of them, New Awakenings in Battleground, Washington, will be closing at the end of this month. Tony and Deborah, the owners of the shop, are moving on to new adventures, and we wish them well with whatever path they will be taking starting October 1st. In the meantime, please stop by their shop on Main Street in Battleground, Washington, buy some of their goods, and wish them well. And we hope to hear from them sometime in the future to find out what they're doing with their big, grand life adventure. Okay, so with those few bits of news out of the way, I want to start the show by talking a bit about numerology. Numerology, or the science of numbers, is based on the premise that each number has a specific vibration and energy attached to it. About 15 months ago, I was listening to an audio interview that had been taped. I think it was a Hay House interview. The person being interviewed was Michelle Buchanan, a numerologist from New Zealand. She was talking about her book, called the Numerology Guidebook. I really knew nothing about numerology, so I thought, what the heck? I'm going to give this a listen. Half the way through the interview, I was so excited by what I was learning that I quit listening, went to Amazon.com, and bought the book. I started reading it and calculating my numerology chart. So as you kind of go through this book, they give an overview of numerology, and then they go into each of the numbers associated with your numerology chart. And there's, I think, 7 or 8 major numbers. So the chart is calculated based on your birth certificate name, the name you go by now, and your birth date. So each of the letters of your name or the numbers in your birth date are associated with a number. And the book kind of guides you through calculating various major numbers for your numerology chart. The most important number in your numerology chart is called your life path number. The numbers on your chart basically give you a really good insight as to who you are and how you can handle life situations. The main number in your numerology chart, like I said, is the life path number. It's similar in significance to your astrology sign. So I spent some time calculating my numerology chart, and it turns out my life path number is a 3. 3 signifies those people who are what they call creative expressives, those people who would be actors, artists, authors, and musicians. And there's a whole host of other creative types. You don't have to be lumped into those 4 categories, but those are just examples. I just knew I had calculated this wrong because I just knew I wasn't creative. So I wrote to the author, Michelle Buchanan, and asked her if she would calculate my chart for me. So for a small fee, and I'm thinking it was like $20 or $25, it was really cheap, she emailed me back a 25-page report on my numerology chart. It was amazing. It turns out my calculations were correct, and I was truly a 3 life path number. I still didn't believe it. I denied it, and it led me down a very interesting path where I finally conceded that the 3 may be correct. So years, months, and days also have special significance. So I'm going to give you an example, and I've actually posted this example on the show notes on my website. If you go to the website, the blog page will be right there, and these calculations are there. So let's take a look at the year 2015. 2015 is considered an 8 year. For those of you who don't know anything about numerology, you take all the individual numbers and add them up. So if you add 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 5, you get 8. 8 is a number that stands for infinity and also wealth and abundance. So this is a year that is tremendous for us because it's giving us the potential of infinite wealth and abundance in all sorts of forms. And you don't necessarily have to think of this in terms of money. It could be abundance in terms of any other type of thing, maybe abundance of love, an abundance of friendship, an abundance of, what have you. So 2015 is an 8 year. So then we take a look at September. We're in September, and September is also an 8 month. So you take 9 for September and add it to the 8 of 2015, and you get 17. So you take the 2 numbers, 1 and 7, and you add them, and you get an 8. You always take those numbers and reduce them down to their lowest common form. So an 8 year and an 8 month. It's a really special month. September is just full of wonderful, wonderful double 8 energy. So if you can close your eyes and visualize infinite wealth and abundance flowing into your life, you can begin to feel the vibration of the number 8. You know what it feels like to have that wealth, to have that abundance. And, it makes you feel special. Your body just, feels wonderful about it. And that's called the vibration. So once you know what that vibration feels like, you can always take yourself to that place and match your vibration to that feeling. The more you can stay in that vibration, the easier it is for you to attract abundance into your life. So if you feel yourself kind of slipping down into depression, or you've had a bad day, just, kind of try and feel and think about those higher feelings of love and abundance, and it will raise the vibration of your body and put you in a much better place. So now let's take a look at today. Today is the 17th of the month. Of course, if you add 1 and 7, it adds up to 8. Today, my friends, we are in a 888 day. Today is the day you want to be matching your vibration of infinite abundance. The universe will meet you with this vibration, and you'll find abundance flowing big time into your life. It's a pretty cool day. If you want to learn more about numerology, pick up the book, The Numerology Guidebook by Michelle Buchanan. I think I may also, at some point in time, do a future show just on numerology. We'll see. So we're going to leave the world of numerology, and I am going to kind of slip into the subject of Mercury retrograde. So the planet Mercury rules communication, thinking, truth, and travel. When it goes retrograde, it simply means that it appears to be traveling backwards in the sky. When the retrograde happens, all of the things that Mercury rules also start to go backwards, and we are left with a hot, messy soup of confusion. There are also a lot of different phases of Mercury retrograde, with the lead up to the actual retrograde and then the post phase. From retrograde to direct, which means Mercury starts traveling forward again, it's about 3 weeks. The pre and post phases draw it out into about 2 months. So the pre-shadow phase of this particular Mercury retrograde actually began back around August 28th. It was a Friday. I knew the pre-phase was starting, but I had no idea how intensely it would affect my work. So this was a Friday, and the next day was a Saturday. I had 3 computers on the bench in my office, and I'm just going to stop here. And for those of you who don't know me, I own a business called Computer Diva, and I fix and repair computers. So it was a Saturday. I had 3 computers on the bench in my office, and I was upgrading each one of them to Windows 10. Each one of them had an issue with the upgrade, and they were not normal issues, not by a long shot. One had a BIOS issue having to do with power surges. And basically, it would not allow me to get past the BIOS boot stage. And it was just a mess. The second one actually started, and after the upgrade to Windows 10, it basically told me that the Windows 7 license wasn't valid, which was just crazy ridiculous. The third was a client-induced upgrade gone horribly wrong. So the client had started to do the upgrade themselves, and it just went south. So I finally got all the computers upgraded and working pretty well. But I knew that Mercury retrograde was the reason why I had all of these issues. There was just no other explanation. Up until this point in time, this was August 28th. Windows 10 had been out for a month. I had probably done a couple of dozen upgrades for various clients. Flawless, never had an issue. And all of a sudden, the day after Mercury, the pre-shadow phase starts for the retrograde, I have 3 computers that are a horrible mess. So during the Mercury retrograde, communications and travel go wonky. So in this period of time, I just want you all to know, make sure you're patient with your technology. Make sure you're patient with your friends and your loved ones. Try and have a bit more patience than normal because it's trying times. It could be a little crazy. It looks like somebody has sent me an email. So I'm going to peruse through it real quick. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, this is cool. So let's see. This email is from Tracy, and here's what Tracy is saying to me. Mary, my husband and I have just found out that after several years of trying, we are expecting a baby. I think it is truly a miracle that I have conceived, and it is making me question my beliefs, meaning that after most of my life spent not being a spiritual person, I'm beginning to think there is something out there greater than ourselves. I am intrigued by Wayne Dyer and would love to know if you can give me some recommendations on what books of his to read. So, first of all, Tracy and husband, congratulations for the wonderful news. It truly is fantastic. So congratulations to you. So let me think. I would have several recommendations for you, and I'm just going to go over to my iPad here, and I'm going to pull up my Kindle app and go to my list of Wayne Dyer books. Before I recommend one of his books, though, I am going to recommend one of his movies. He wrote a book called The Shift, which was made into a movie. And this movie follows three people, all totally unconnected with each other. They're all the same seaside resort for various reasons. And they're all starting to question what is their meaning in life. It was just a beautifully written and acted movie, and just a wonderful movie. I saw it for the first time last December, and it just really hit me, and I watched it a couple of times since, and it was just a beautiful message, a beautiful movie, and I think you might get a lot out of it. So in terms of books, I would definitely say you would want to read I Can See Clearly Now. That is Wayne Dyer's memoir. It will give you just a wonderful flavor for what Wayne was all about. So I recommend I Can See Clearly Now. I would also read, let's see, here in my list. I would read The Power of Intention. In this book, he talks about intention being not really determination, but let's see if I can remember. But intention is being part of the overall cosmic energy that we're all a part of, and how to tap into that cosmic energy and how to put your intentions out there. I think that's an excellent book. And, I think I'm going to recommend one more book to you, and it's not a book by Wayne Dyer, but it's a book I read recently, and I was blown away by this book. That book is called The Surrender Experiment by a gentleman by the name of Michael Singer. It was just an amazing book about a man, Michael Singer. It was his own story. And he basically dedicated himself to following the path that the universe set in front of him. He basically kind of looked at all the signs and signals that the universe was sending to him, and he, no matter what, he was determined to say yes to every single thing that came his way, even when he really thought that, no, I don't want to do this. What the heck? Why are you asking me to do this? This doesn't make sense. He just said yes. And it was pretty amazing, the adventures that these big yeses took him on, and the direction his life took. It was pretty incredible. So one movie and 3 books I would recommend to you, and I would recommend that you probably watch these and get these read before that baby comes, because afterwards you're not going to have time. So congratulations to you and your husband again, and thank you so much for your email. So where did I leave off? So I kind of want to continue tonight's program by telling you all a story. I belong to a networking group in Portland, Oregon called Connect to Success. This group has been in existence for 5 years now, and we started the group as 4 women who all belong to the Executive Women's Golf Association, also known as EWGA. It's a nationwide group, and they have chapters in various cities across the country. So we were 4 women who golfed together and also happened to own our own businesses. And we were all kind of relatively new in business ownership and thought it would be a good idea to form a group, meet on a regular basis, and support each other in building our businesses. At the time, we met at a coffee shop in downtown Portland on Monday mornings, and we did that because none of us really had anything better to do on a Monday morning. Now that just doesn't happen. But we also knew we wanted to do our businesses differently. We wanted to bring a certain level of spirituality into our businesses, but at the time, we really didn't know what that would look like. So we created bylaws for the group. We elected each other to an office, and we went forth and recruited like-minded women into our group. So over the years, we've gained members and we've lost members for a variety of reasons. But we've grown to be a group of women who are fiercely supportive of each other through good times and bad. I consider this group to be my spiritual anchor. They give me love, they give me energy, and they give me support when I need it. We meet twice a month, and at last week's meeting, we ended the meeting by standing in a circle, holding hands, eyes closed. One by one, we went around the circle, and we each stated something that we needed support with. After we stated our support request, the one we call our spiritual leader would say a prayer of support for our request. When it came around to me, I stated that I was simply grateful for all that had been brought to me, and but I could really use some courage to continue saying yes to the path that my angels and guides were laying out for me. Our spiritual leader, who was standing across from me, simply smiled and said, "Mary, you don't need prayers for courage. You are fearless," which really surprised me because doing this radio show scares the shit out of me. What if I get halfway through the show and my mind goes blank? What if I had dead air and all my listeners get bored? What if nobody calls during the show to ask a question or talk to me? This stuff scares me, but I'm doing this show anyway. I was guided to do this show. So as I go through the rest of this show and as I go through the next several months, keep in mind that I'm doing something that is totally out of my comfort zone, and have a little compassion if I stumble now and then. So with all of that said, let's talk about the angels. If you listened to the first show I did, I talked about an experience I had at the beginning of my spiritual journey and my exploration of the angelic realm. This week, I wanted to dive a little deeper into the angels and kind of talk a little bit about the various types and who are they. And so I just kind of wanted to stop here and remind everyone that if you want to call in and join the show or ask a question, my phone number is 713-955-0415. Remember that when you call in and you get into the queue, press 1, and that way I'll know that you actually have a question. So the angels. Who are the angels? And I'm going to begin by talking about guardian angels. So everyone, without exception, has one or more guardian angels. And they're with you from the moment you were born until the moment you pass on. Your guardian angels, they shower you with unconditional love, and they are there to protect you and guide you along your journey. Guardian angels have never lived on earth in human form. So I actually have 3 guardian angels that are always with me. Get a little drink of water there. I wasn't looking or searching to find out who my guardian angels were. but a series of circumstances led to someone who did a reading for me, and I discovered who my guardian angels are. So I'm going to tell you about two of them. I start off with Archangel Michael. Of all the guardian angels I could have had, I was so thrilled to find out he was one of mine. To backtrack on this and to understand why this is so special to me, I have another story. Yay, another story. Early in my journey, I went to see a friend, Amara Beth, who is a transpersonal healer. She's an amazing healer, and I've gone to see her for several types of sessions. In this particular session, it was revealed that I would be working with Archangel Michael. And I think this session was like a year and a half ago. The details of this adventure weren't clear at the time, other than that the time frame that I got from the reading was that this collaboration between Archangel Michael and myself would start to take place in the fall. As time went on, I did start working with Archangel Michael in my technology business. To begin with, Archangel Michael is a messenger of God. His primary role is to be a protector. So, for instance, every time I get in my car, I say a silent prayer to Archangel Michael to protect me during my journey and to help me arrive to my destination safely. Also, every night before I go to bed, I ask Archangel Michael to please protect me and my family during the night. Archangel Michael is also known as the Mr. Fix-It Angel. He has certain gifts pertaining to healing technology. If you are experiencing difficulties with technology, you can call upon Archangel Michael to help you heal that technology. So just to kind of reiterate what I said earlier, for those that who don't know me, I own a computer repair business, and I fix and repair computers. So finding out that Archangel Michael was one of my guardian angels was just a thrill to me. And when I found out he could also help me fix technology, it was just so special. So I call upon him every time I sit down in front of a computer. Every time I go see a client, I will call upon Archangel Michael before I even walk into the building or walk into the home. And I call upon him to keep the computer protected, to keep myself protected from any energies that are kind of swirling around the home or swirling around the computer. And he shows up. And one of the ways that I discovered him showing up was that when I would start going through this process of asking for his protection, I would start to feel this intense heat all around me. And I just knew that it was him, because he gives off a lot of heat. And so I knew he was there. In fact, he's kind of here with me now. So he's one of the angels that I use when I sit down to fix and repair computers. I'm going to digress a little bit here and tell you another story. I'm going to tell you a story about the first time that I actually experimented with using Archangel Michael or calling upon Archangel Michael to help me fix a computer. And I had gotten a phone call from a client of mine, and she said, Mary, she said, I kind of had a power surge in the house, and my Apple computers are fine, nothing wrong with them, but my Windows computer, I can't get it to boot up anymore. And, she tells me that she had a lot of photos on this computer, really precious family photos, vacation photos. And I said, no sweat, I'll come out, I'll take a look at it, I'll see what I can do, no guarantees. So I go out to her home and try and boot up her Windows computer, and nothing would happen. So I took the hard drive out of the computer, And using a special set of cables that I have, I hooked that hard drive up to her MacBook. And the MacBook wouldn't recognize the hard drive. It was a shot in the dark, you know. So I said to her, you know, do you mind if I take this hard drive back to my office and I hook it up to my computers there and I see what I can do with it? And she said, no, I have nothing to lose. So I brought it back to my office and I set it down on my desk, and I kind of said a prayer of intention over it. I set that intention out into the universe, and basically, you know, I said, you know, if this hard drive can be healed and brought back to life, if we can get some data off of it, I'd be really appreciative. So I just left it there, and I knew that I had a really busy weekend. I had a charity event that I was working the next day, and I had all sorts of technology to set up. I was running what they call a pit, and the pit is the area where we've got all these computers set up, and people come into the charity auction. They give us their credit cards, we swipe them, and we handle payments for everything that they're auctioning off. So as I'm sitting in my office the next morning, and I had about 45 minutes before I actually had to start loading my truck up with all the technology and heading out to the hotel, I kind of, you know, just intuitively knew that I needed to take that hard drive and hook it up to one of my computers. So I did. I took that hard drive, hooked it up to, I believe it was one of my Windows computers, and it fired right up. And, you know, no hesitation. And I could see that hard drive on my computer. I could see all the data, so I started backing it all up. And I immediately texted my client and let her know that we had success, that I was backing up all her photos, and I would be able to deliver them to her in a couple of days. So that was really kind of my first experiment, which is really, really kind of cool. So I've been, you know, experimenting like that ever since, and have some pretty cool stories, but I'll leave those for another show. So my next guardian angel. So the next one is Athena. Athena is a Grecian goddess. She's the daughter of Zeus. And Athena will assist me in a lot of different ways. One of them happens to be in the area of creativity, specifically writing projects. So I know when I'm writing blog posts, or if I'm actually writing outlines for these shows, Athena will be there to help me. And she also gives courage. According to my friends, I don't need courage that often. But she gives it to me. So lately, her name has been popping up everywhere. And, you know, I just get the sense that she's trying to send me some sort of message, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But, you know, Athena's kind of a rare name. You don't see that very often, and I'm seeing it everywhere these days. So anyway, you know, they do try and communicate with you, and a lot of times it's not clear how they communicate, but it takes a lot of work. I'm just going to say it. It takes a lot of work to figure out what the angels and guides are trying to tell you, and it's always not clear. But you got to stick it out, and you have to figure it out, and because it's so worthwhile once you do figure it out. So that was guardian angels. So and I gave you the story of two of my guardian angels. So the next type of angel would be the archangel, and of course, Archangel Michael is an archangel. So the archangels are the highest ranking angels in heaven, and I'm going to give you a few examples of them. You know, I've already talked about Archangel Michael. His name means he who is like God. He is here to protect and rid the world of fear. And Michael works with the light workers of the world. And light workers are humans who volunteered prior to birth to help heal the planet from the effects of fear. these people, they feel called upon to help others and to write and teach about healing experiences. The next one is Archangel Gabriel. Her name or his name, this particular archangel could be either sex, but her name, in my mind, it's a female. Her name means God is my strength. She is known as the messenger angel, and she will help with fertility, adoption, art projects, journalism, writing, television and radio work. Archangel Gabriel can be seen, like I said, either female or male. I've called upon Archangel Gabriel specifically for this internet radio show. Before the very first show I did, I quieted my mind and called upon her to kind of just give me the strength I needed to make it through the show. As you all know, this is not in my comfort zone, so she kind of helped me get through it. Archangel Raphael. His name means God heals. If you're facing an illness, Archangel Raphael is the one you call upon to assist you. Archangel Raphael can also assist you with healing animals. I myself called upon Archangel Raphael when I was facing a possible illness last winter. The doctor had ordered a routine mammogram for me almost a year ago, which led to more mammograms, ultrasounds, a needle biopsy, and finally a surgical biopsy. So this whole process took about 4 months from start to finish. At the beginning of the process, when I was called back for the second round of mammograms, I called upon Archangel Raphael to help me heal whatever was going on in my body. Soon after that, I got a call from a former client. Well, I shouldn't really say former. A client who I hadn't seen for a while. She called me and said she needed help with her computers in her new business. So her business was in Light for Life, and her business promoted healing with the use of infrared lights and hyperbaric oxygen treatments. So I told this story to Edna probably about a month after I came in to work on her computers, and she immediately got me into her oxygen chamber for all sorts of treatments. At the same time, Archangel Raphael set in motion a series of conversations that led me to a sacred piece of land out in the Columbia River Gorge, where I went to energetically expel whatever illness might be inside me. So when it came time to do the needle biopsy, and this is at the end of January, the first step that day was an ultrasound to kind of pinpoint the area to be biopsied. And the doctors couldn't find anything. They couldn't find the area. Then they went on to do a mammogram and inserted all sorts of needles and wires in the area. And I was then wheeled into the operating room where the surgical biopsy was performed. So I kind of went into this day. I had prepared myself for a couple of months prior to this day, just feeling very positive that nothing would be found. In my mind, any other outcome just was not possible. So after the surgery, it took me about a week to get the results, but the bottom line was I was completely healthy. Absolutely nothing was found in my body. And I truly believe that all happened with the help of Archangel Raphael, and I essentially healed myself. So Archangel Raphael can be a pretty cool angel to call upon when you need assistance. So there's lots of different archangels, and there's books you can read, and I'm going to list some books here at the end of the show, and give you some material to ponder. Another type of angel is what's called an ascended master. An ascended master is I guess you would call them a healer or a teacher. who has, hold on just a minute. Close the door. Close the door. Sorry about that. Let's see, a healer or teacher who's been on earth but is now in the spirit world. Jesus is probably the best known ascended master. And I'll give you a really good book to read to give you a little bit more information on that. Let's see, spirit guides. So a spirit guide is someone who was living on earth at some point in time and upon passing became a spirit guide. So I have an interesting story about this. So I have a unique spirit guide. I found out about her several months back when I had a reading by Daniel Monroe. He was my guest on my first radio show a few weeks ago. So the spirit came through the reading, and Daniel described her as tall, wearing a long flowing white dress. She was rather stern, and Daniel said that she was standing there with a long scroll, which was actually a list. She was telling Daniel that it was a list of items that I had not yet done. I hadn't taken care of the items on this list yet. So she was kind of scolding me for not taking care of the items on this list and scolding me for not taking enough time for myself, and that I always put others first. So she said that she had been, when I say she said, I mean she communicated this information to Daniel. And so she communicated to Daniel that she had been trying to get my attention for about 2 years now, and she was relieved that I finally knew about her and was paying attention. She said she had cleared my schedule so that I could be at this reading with Daniel. And I laughed when I heard that, because I remember at the time thinking, well, if you cleared my schedule, why did you make it so difficult for me to get to the reading? Because as I was driving to the reading, I came upon 2 accidents on my way there. And when I actually got to the shop where the reading was taking place, the door was locked. So I kind of had to call Daniel and say, the door's locked, come get me. It was just very difficult to get there. So she may have cleared my schedule, but she made it a challenge. So when I asked Daniel who she was and what her name was, she indicated to him that I had to do the work to find that out. I had to ask, and I had to ask formally. So later on that evening, I kind of sat down, I quieted myself, cleared my head. I asked for a name for this spirit guide, and the name that popped into my mind was Jackie. So bottom line, I have a feisty, pushy spirit guide named Jackie. And in a reading a few months later that I had with Daniel, I scheduled a second reading, and I came prepared with a list of questions for Jackie. And one of those questions was, who is she? And when I asked that question, the information that she passed on to Daniel was, she said that everyone has several angels with them, and everyone has one angel who is the head honcho. And those were actually her words, not mine. She kind of told Daniel that she was the head honcho. Jackie is my head honcho. She's here to help support me and guide me. In the same session, I asked Jackie who was on the scroll, or what was on the scroll, or that list of items that I hadn't yet done. And her response was, number one, you need to take more time for yourself. And I'm actually trying to do that. I'm actually leaving town tomorrow morning for 3 days and unplugging from technology. So, Jackie, I'm doing what you're telling me to. She stated that she likes the fact that I walk, and I walk in nature. And she also stated that she wanted me to step out of my comfort zone and do this internet radio show that the folks at New 72 Media had asked me to do. So with that said, the reason I told you that story is because that is how this radio show was born. So now you know. So that was spirit guides. Departed loved ones. Everyone can have departed loved ones with you. Just because your friends or family died doesn't mean that your relationship with them has ended. They're there, and they want to help you and support you. They will send you signs, and you'll know those signs when you see them. They will have special meaning to you. And if you listened to my show a couple of weeks ago, you know that, when you see signs and your intuition tells you that it's a sign, it really is a sign. So your intuition plays a big role here in the signs. So those are just a few of the various types of angels that we have hanging around us. But then, what is their purpose? Why are the angels here? So the angels, no matter what kind they are simply messengers of God. They are here to support us, to guide us, and to send us love. They are gifts from God, and they want us to know that we can tap into our divinity. They really want to help us with that. They guide us in our everyday life. They send us messages and signs all the time. The more you study this, the more you get your mind into thinking this way, the more you'll probably find that probably 75 to 90% of what you encounter throughout the day is some sort of sign from your angels. They want us to know that we're all here on Earth for a purpose, and they want to help us know what our purpose is, and they want to guide us to achieve our purpose. They're really eager to help us, but the big kicker here is we have to ask them for help. They can't interfere in our lives unless we ask. And most of us don't ask. And I know I have a real hard time with that. And if there's something I want, I just kind of assume they know I want it. And then I realize, well, wait, they can't assume that. We actually have to ask. And the reason they have to ask is because there's this thing called free will. We all have free will. And we have that free will to make decisions when we're walking our path of life. And the angels can't interfere with our free will. The only time they can interfere is if they sense we're in mortal danger and it's not our time. Then they can interfere and they can alter the course of events. But other than that, we have our free will, and they cannot interfere in decisions we make. So the angels, like I said, they send us all sorts of signs, telling us maybe to take a particular path or direction. But if we decide to turn right, and the angels are guiding us to turn left, then so be it. They just can't interfere in that. Like I said, the only time they can interfere is if we're in mortal danger and it's not our time. So I'm barely scratching the surface on the topic of angels, but for those of you out there who are new to your path, which is who this show is for and dedicated to, this is basic information. And I'm hoping it will kind of give you a little bit of knowledge base on where to start in your research. So anyway, so book suggestions. So I have a few book suggestions as you're exploring your angelic realm. And I'm going to open up my Kindle app on my iPad, and I'm going to go down to this section here. So I'm going to give you 3 books that you'll want to take a look at. And before I do that, I don't know if anybody has any questions. Did I get any emails? No. No other emails. Book suggestions. So the first book, really, really basic. Angel Numbers. No, not Angel Numbers. Angels 101. Of course, I talked about Angel Numbers 101 on my last show and the meaning of numbers and how numbers were just so important to me along my journey. So that really would be a suggestion. Angel Numbers 101 by Doreen Virtue. And then she also wrote another book called Angels 101. And that was basically just a primer on the angels and who they are and, what they can offer you. And I'm going to open up this book on my iPad and just kind of give you a little bit of flavor of what kind of topics are going to be covered in this book. So let's see, my table of contents here. Of course, who were the angels? And then it talks about the angelic realm, how to connect from your angels, how to connect with your angels, how to recognize the signs from your angels, how to get protection from your angels. They'll help you with relationships. They'll help you with your career. They'll help you figure out your life purpose. And they'll also help you with healing. So it's a really cool book. I would highly recommend that. Let's see. The next book, How to Hear Your Angels, again, by Doreen Virtue. She has just written a ton of books. And let's see, How to Hear Your Angels. I'll pop open that one. I see we do have a caller with a question. So I'm going to pop open this book real quick and go through the table of contents with you. Let's see. Here we go. So How to Hear Your Angels. A lot of different ways there. Okay, so who the angels are. There's a chapter on our deceased loved ones, how to receive messages from children in heaven, how to know if it's truly your angels or your imagination. And we had a caller on the last show who talked about, I think her question revolved around, how can you tell, when we were talking about intuition, how can you tell if it's really your intuition or wishful thinking? And so I think if you pick up this book, How to Hear Your Angels, and read chapter 4, that's going to give you a whole lot of information. How to feel your angels, how to recognize and receive divine ideas and profound thoughts, how to see your angels, and receiving messages from your angels. So with that, I see we have a caller from Beth, so I'm going to bring her in and put her on the line. Hey, Beth. Are you there?
Hey, Mary. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about is, how do you know that these are signs or messages from your angels? And can you give us an example of maybe one of the first signs you've gotten that, really woke you up and said that this is a special message you need to pay attention to?
Yes. Absolutely. There's so many. I would say, well, of course, in my first show I talked about, the messages I got from the clouds in the sky and then the messages I got from the numbers. I get a lot of other messages and probably one of the most common ones is messages through music. And I have one of my guardian angels who actually is the one who sends me messages through music. And basically those messages kind of revolve around, maybe conversations that I was just having or maybe something I was thinking about doing. And I get particular songs that I might hear on the radio. Maybe I'm driving in the car and, I'm kind of thinking through a thought process and all of a sudden this song comes on the radio, and it's a confirmation of, yes, you're on the right track, and what you're thinking about doing is what you need to be doing. So music is huge for me, and I'm trying to think. I get a lot of messages through shapes of clouds in the sky. And I'm trying to think of what else. So music, clouds in the sky, of course, the number messages are huge to me. And, if you start seeing repetitive numbers, that is a sign that the angels are trying to send you a message. And I keep that book, Angel Numbers 101, on my Kindle. I keep it on my phone, and every time I see repetitive numbers, I'll look up that number, and I'll know what the message is that the angels are trying to send to me. Does that answer your question?
Would you say that's individual to every person, that, particular person, that if they're into music, they're going to hear it through music, or if they're into numbers or clouds, or that it's going to be something that we just need to open ourselves up to be aware of and look for?
It's totally different from each person, and a lot of people get messages through animals. They'll get messages through dimes or pennies on the ground, feathers that they might find on the ground. There's all sorts of different ways, and you'll know that the message is for you when your intuition tells you that message is for you. I think I talked about it in my last show. It's just that knowing that when you get that message, it just strikes you as, that's a message for me, and I'm meant to pay attention to it. And it's rather difficult at the beginning to kind of discern between your intuition and maybe just wishful thinking, or you second guess yourself a lot. But as time goes by, you experience it enough so that you recognize that feeling when you get a sign. It's just this real positive, intuitive feeling.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Great question, Beth. Thank you so much for calling.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, third book. I promised 3 book recommendations to you. So, first one, Angels 101. Second one, How to Hear Your Angels by Doreen Virtue. The last one, again, by Doreen Virtue. It's called Signs from Above, Your Angels' Messages About Your Life Purpose, Relationships, Health, and More. So in this book, let me pull it up here from Signs from Above. I think it was one of the first books I ever read. In fact, it might have been the first one. And it was just really a cool book. And so opening this up, going to the table of contents, give you an idea of what's in here. It's going to be very similar to the other 2 books, but they each kind of go into different areas. So, Beth, this might be one that you might find really interesting, because in here it talks about all the various signs you can receive from your angels through clouds, feathers, musical signs, pennies, rainbows is a big sign, and we actually had a caller in the last show who was talking about the rainbows. So you might want to pick up this book. Heavenly Voices, Angel Numbers. You can ask the angels for a sign. I've done that before. You can ask prayers to receive signs. You can ask for a sign, but it's usually not cool to ask for a particular way in which to receive a sign. So if you say, can you give me a sign that blah, 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 and can you make sure that you throw a penny on the ground or a feather on the ground or what have you, you ask for the sign, but you let the angels decide how to give you that sign. So anyway, that is book number 3. So with that said, we've kind of covered a lot of ground tonight, and we're kind of at the end of our evening. So I just want to thank everyone who listened tonight. I want to thank Tracy who wrote me the email, Beth who called in. My next show is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, October 1st at 7 o'clock. We're trying to schedule them the first and third Thursdays of every month at 7 o'clock. So with that, thanks again for listening, and I will say good night. But what I also want to say is that this show, a little bit of technical information, Waking the Spirit, was produced by Kelly Lair of New 72 Media, headquartered in Portland, Oregon. And this episode was recorded at Waking the Spirit headquarters in Vancouver, Washington. So good night, everyone.